An hour. The pre-program for the Get Your Knee Off Our Necks Commitment March begins.
Yeah, this march on Washington is in protest of police brutality and will be attended by the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Garner, and many others. So here with a look at the event is Tylik, McMillan, the National Director of Youth and College for the National Action Network. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So each year, activists and citizens, they ascend on Washington to be heard and to bring about change. This commemorates the 57th anniversary of the original March on Washington. Why is it so important for you and your organization to focus on this message of police brutality?
Well, not only commemorating the march and commemorating the famous speech that Dr. King gave here at the Lincoln Memorial, but seeing where we have come from 57 years ago until today. We understand that voter suppression is at an all-time high. It's a very historical election that we have coming up. And we understand that even though we're in the midst of these times, we must stand on the right side of history. And so that's why we're pushing for passage of legislation when it comes to voting and the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And so we're here in this moment to demand justice. We're not here to negotiate it or to ask it, but we're here to demand it.
I mean, 57 years later, you're talking about social justice, racial justice, black people dying at a larger number in the pandemic. At the same time, there are a lot of things that are happening as we go into today. Last night, President Trump, though, spoke at length about respecting the police. I want to get your take, so listen in here and then we'll get your reaction.
We must remember that the overwhelming majority of police officers in this country, and that's the overwhelming majority, are noble, courageous, and honorable. We have to give law enforcement, our police, back their power.
Do you feel that the president's message there last night supported your cause at all or showed that he's an ally in your fight against police brutality?
I think as we address, police violence in our communities, we first have to start off by addressing that there is an issue. By just going around the problem and, not addressing the direct issue of the countless black and brown lives that are disposable to a system that was said to protect and serve. There's no reason why George Floyd, that incident shouldn't happen. There's no reason why we have names such as Garner, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. We can't sleep in peace, Breonna Taylor. And so all these issues, I think it's there's a lack of leadership to not address that there is a problem.
Well, part of addressing it and changing things is leveling the playing field when it comes to leadership. So it is one thing, and it's a wonderful thing, to see young people out there marching, being a part of this movement, not just a moment, but a movement. But are you also encouraging young people to vote? Because that's where the real change can happen.
Yeah. And so over 4 million young people have got registered to vote this year. That are eligible to vote this year. We have a time now to not only affect ourselves, but to affect generations that are yet unborn. So when our children's children are looking in the history books, will they act that we stood on the right side of history? We have the chance to change a generation and to change the narrative of what this country has given, that all people may have that same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, that's a very good point there. The youth really is leading the charge here. Many faces have been part of this movement, right? Including what we're seeing play out this week as well, which are athletes taking a stand, sitting out games and protests of police shootings in Kenosha and all around the country. This is not just an individual game that they're sitting out. They're really doing this, saying we're doing this because the attention of playing a game is taken away from the cause. What do you think of all of the athletes and what they're doing?
Yeah, I think it brings awareness to the issue. When we think about athletes and we think about the leverage that they have and influence that they have, I think it speaks volume that they're using their platform to bring awareness to these issues that are so important, because these are not just a popular conversation to have when it's popular or when it's a hashtag, but these are conversations that should be had every single day. So I honor the fact that these athletes are using their privilege in these spaces to bring light to these issues.
You and many others are there in person during a pandemic because this is so very important to you. But some organizations, such as the NAACP, they're hosting that is a virtual march on Washington. Can you explain how this works and how people can join in on the action?
Yeah. So folks can tune into our website at nationalactionnetwork.net or join the NAACP's virtual option. So we want folks to be able to do and participate in ways that they feel comfortable. As we see here behind me, we are doing temperature checks before entry. Folks are required to wear a mask. And we have sanitation stations throughout the mall, while we have corridor out where we can enforce social distancing. And so, I mean, we're excited, and we're to have a march, and to do it safely, and folks can use their voice.
Just what do you want to say, though, to the critics who are going to look at this and say, wow, well, they're gathering in person, they're in tight spaces right now. What do you want to say to those folks?
What I say to them is, as we look at studies and we look at protests that have erupted across this nation after the killing of George Floyd, there has been no significance in uptick in regards to protests. And so we are out here making our voices heard while doing it safe. We're having events while wearing masks and taking the precautions and working with health officials to ensure, because we understand wearing masks helps out, and that's why we're out here doing all these precautions.
Absolutely, and even representing with that mask of yours, would like it. Thank you, Tylik. We appreciate your time. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.